আসসালামু আলাইকুম, গুড ইভিনিং। আইসিএ বাংলাদেশ অ্যালামনি অ্যাসোসিয়েশনের পক্ষ থেকে আমি এমডি রেফায়েত ইসলাম আজকের এই লাইভ সেশনে আপনাদের সবাইকে ওয়েলকাম জানাচ্ছি। আশা করি পরিবারের সবাইকে নিয়ে সুস্থ ও ভালো আছেন। আইসিএ অ্যালামনি অ্যাসোসিয়েশনের পক্ষ থেকে আপনারা জানেন আমরা ইতিমধ্যে একটি ওয়েবিনার ও 3টি লাইভ সেশনের আয়োজন করেছি। যে সেশনগুলোতে আমাদের দেশের বিভিন্ন সেক্টর থেকে সাপ্লাই চেইন লিডাররা অ্যাটেন্ড করেছিল এবং আমাদেরকে সাপ্লাই চেইনের বিভিন্ন টিপস এন্ড টেকনিক নিয়ে তারা আমাদেরকে বিভিন্ন জিনিস বিভিন্ন ইনফরমেশন দিয়ে আমাদেরকে অনেক কিছু সাহায্য করেছে। এবং আমরা যারা সাপ্লাই চেইনে যারা কর্মরত রয়েছে, যারা এজ এ সাপ্লাই চেইন প্রফেশনাল হিসেবে তারা আমরা এগুলি জানতে পেরে অনেক কিছু ডে টু ডে লাইফে আমরা ইমপ্লিমেন্ট করতে পেরেছি। অ্যাপার্ট ফ্রম দিস, দে আর অলসো ডিসকাস in this pandemic situation what are the challenges they face and how they are overcoming. এই ডিসকাশনটা ফর দ্য প্যান্ডেমিক সিচুয়েশনে আমাদের অনেকটুকুই কাজে লেগেছে এবং অনেকটুকুই কাজে লাগাতে পেরেছি। সো এরই ধারাবাহিকতার পার্ট হিসেবে, কন্টিনিউশন পার্ট হিসেবে আজকে আমাদের এই লাইভ সেশন, এবং এই লাইভ সেশনটি লিটল বিট ডিফারেন্ট এবং কোয়াইট নিউ টপিকস নিয়ে আজকে আমরা আপনাদের সাথে হাজির হয়েছি। আপনারা জানেন আমরা যারা লাইভ ডে টু সাপ্লাই চেইন প্রফেশনে আমরা যারা আছি তাদের ডে টু ডে ওয়ার্ক লাইফের পাশাপাশি আমাদেরকে বিভিন্নভাবে সব সময় লিডারশিপ রোল প্লে করতে হয়। তাই সাপ্লাই চেইনের বিভিন্ন থিওরি, টুলস, টেকনিকের পাশাপাশি সাপ্লাই চেইন কোয়ালিটি এজ এ লিডারশিপ কোয়ালিটি অ্যাডপ্ট করাটা খুব ম্যান্ডেটরি। ইন কামিং ফিউচার মোস্ট অফ দ্য সিওএস উইল কাম ফ্রম সাপ্লাই চেইন ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড। সো হাউ উইল ডেভেলপ আওয়ারসেলফ এজ এ সাপ্লাই চেইন লিডার, এটা নিয়ে আজকে আমাদের সেশন। সো টুডে আওয়ার টপিকস ইজ ডেভেলপিং সাপ্লাই চেইন লিডারশিপ। আজকে আমাদের এই লাইভ সেশনে আমাদের সাথে আছে আমাদের অনারেবল ইজাজুর রহমান স্যার। ইজাজুর রহমান স্যার সাথে পরিচয় করিয়ে দেওয়ার আসলে আপনাদের আমার কিছু নেই। ইজাজুর রহমান স্যার নাও ম্যানেজিং ডিরেক্টর অফ ম্যানমেকার অ্যান্ড রিজিওনাল সিও অফ আইসিএ হিসেবে দায়িত্ব পালন করছেন। আপনাদের জানিয়ে রাখি, ইজাজুর রহমান স্যার আমাদের ইবা অর্থাৎ অ্যাডহক আইসিএ অ্যালামনি অ্যাসোসিয়েশনের অ্যাডহক কমিটির চিফ অ্যাডভাইজার হিসেবে আমাদের সাথে সার্বিকভাবে সহযোগিতা করে আসছেন এবং তারই অনুপ্রেরণায়, তার দিক নির্দেশনায় আমরা এগিয়ে যাচ্ছি। ইজাজুর রহমান স্যার বিগত 10 বছরে এজ এ কর্পোরেট কোচ এবং ট্রেনার হিসেবে তার বিভিন্ন লাইভ ট্রেনিং সেশনের মাধ্যমে প্রায় 19,000 ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল পার্সনকে ডিরেক্টলি ট্রেনিং করাতে পেরেছেন। সো এজ এ সাপ্লাই চেইন প্রফেশনাল হি ইজ দ্য মোস্ট সাকসেসফুল ইন কর্পোরেট কোচিং অ্যান্ড ট্রেনিং এরিয়া। সো আমি আর কথা বেশি না বাড়িয়ে আমি ইজাজুর রহমান স্যারকে ইনভাইট করছি এই লাইভ সেশনে আসার জন্য। স্যার প্লিজ, I am welcoming you in this session.
Thank you very
sir,
much.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Sir, Assalamu
Very good
alaikum.
to see you. Wa alaikum assalam.
And
Can
sir,
you hear me?
Yes, sir. This is clear.
Okay,
sir,
perfect.
very good to see you also with us, sir. Sir, আশা করি ভালো আছেন।
Alhamdulillah. I can see a lot of changes in you as well during the pandemic. Growing
Yes,
beard,
sir.
shaving head, and a lot of things. MashaAllah, you're looking
Yes,
good.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
স্যার, স্যার, আমাদের সাপ্লাই চেইনে আমরা যারা আছি এজ এ প্রফেশনাল সাপ্লাই চেইনের ডে টু ডে ওয়ার্কের সাথে সাথে আমরা যেটা বলছিলাম একটু আগে, আমাদের সবসময় লিডারশিপ রোলটা প্লে করতে হয়। সো স্যার, ইন দিস কারেন্ট সিচুয়েশন ইউ আর দ্য মোস্ট sought and demanding resource in Bangladesh for corporate coaching, especially for the leadership. So can you please provide us a brief on what leadership really means?
All right. Rafat, thank you. And I think I will continue to talk in English because I have been told
Yes.
by many that what do you call, some of the participants from abroad will also join. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So let me see if this is the one. Give me a second. I'm going to take any whether this is the one or not. No, not this one. Just plugging in the screen share. So allow me a second.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll share the screen later. So let me give you an initial talk. And you asked what leadership is really, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a very common question for me because I face this so much and I keep giving the same response. That leadership simply is the quality to influence others' behavior. Whenever we engage ourselves in influencing others' works, others' thought process, how they shape things up, how they deal with things, that's when we are actually engaged in leadership. So it's the quality to know how do we influence others, right? How do we create such capabilities so that we understand other side better? And for you to influence the other side, you first need to know what is motivating to the other side, what is influencing to the other side. And you try to get those qualities so that you communicate in a way so that the other side is influenced with your actions, your words, and everything. So simply putting, when we influence others' behaviors, we are actually exercising leadership. And people get motivated or influenced with many things. So we need to ascertain first what motivates the other side, what influences the other side, and then apply that to that person to get influenced. If I may, let me just share one or two screen. If I can get the screen on the panel, please. Yeah. Okay, here's a quote from Ronald Reagan, one of the ex-presidents of US. He could be debated whether he did good job or bad job, so let's not get into that. But of course, we will always appreciate good works of any human. And he said, the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. Very interesting. So leaders are not necessarily people who will know to do all the great job, all the great things. He would rather be the people who will have the capacity to make sure his people does the greatest things. Right? So with that, I would also remind the audience that leadership is never related to a position. Position gives you some authority to exercise and influence based on the authority. Leadership is neither a rank or a position. It's only a choice. In other words, if you look at the current pandemic in every country, we understand that there are audience from Sri Lanka, Netherlands, Sweden, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh mainly. Maybe there are more from other countries today. So if you look around in the community in the current pandemic, people, irrespective of their position, irrespective of their rank, are taking initiatives to change the fate of others or help others who need help. They are the leaders. Leadership is all about taking responsibility. So whoever takes responsibility to change a state, change a situation, or change a human from his current situation, he is a leader. And whoever demonstrates their capability of influencing others is actually a leader. So we need to ensure that we, properly take this inside our mind, that leadership is nothing but a mindset, it's a heart set, and it's a way of being. How do I see this world? How do I live my life? How do I do certain jobs which helps others to feel inspired, and they feel inspired to follow me? So it's really a mindset, and simply putting, it's a mindset of always taking responsibility. So I think I will stop there by concluding that leadership begins and ends with three words: absolute personal responsibility. And I'll share further when you ask questions on leadership. Over to you, Rafael. I hope that was useful. Rafael, are you listening? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Dear viewer, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. You are briefly, sir, described. Dear viewers, I am requesting you, please put your notebook and pen. I think it will be helpful for you. Sir, you are briefly described the leadership. Sir, nowadays, we have a great new way and rather a simple way of appreciating leadership. Please advise, what do you think one can follow to grow his or her leadership in an organization?
Okay, I think I can again
Sir.
take the help of a slide. Can you hear me, Rafael? Thank you for the question. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So I think I said I can probably take the help of a screen again. So let me go there. Yeah, what I'm going to share now is actually a learning from one of the greatest thought leaders today, who's a consultant to many of the Fortune 500 companies, who has been in consulting and coaching people from across the world for over 40 years now. A gentleman named John C. Maxwell, very popular, thought leadership guru today. So what I'm putting here is a beautiful framework that Mr. Maxwell has created out of his 40 plus years of experience in providing guidance on leadership guidance and coaching people on leadership. And so he created a masterpiece. So I'm delighted to share this very quickly for people to know, whoever works in an organization, how should they grow leadership. Now, he actually talks about 5 steps. So, Rafael, thank you for reminding the audience. I think it will be useful for you to have a pen and a notepad, dear audience, if you wish to take some notes. Because by learning, the few more important cells in your brain gets activated, and it helps you to learn properly. So please take notes. It will be useful. Every time we join an organization at any level, we always get a position. So the first level of leadership is a positional leadership. It is the authority that we exercise through the chair, the power of the chair. Yeah. If I'm senior in the hierarchy, if I have juniors, they would always listen to me because my position is higher. And the source of leadership or the source of influence in this level, positional level leadership, is right-based, which means it is my right to exercise influence on you because I'm senior than you are. Unfortunately, largest part of employees across the world get stuck in this level while exercising leadership, forgetting the fact that this is the lowest level of leadership. So let's learn what the other steps are and how can I really grow leadership in the organization. So when you have joined the organization, as I said, irrespective of which level you are in, if you have people in your peer group or below you who listen to you because of your position, and in this stage, people will follow you because they have to, because you have a positional authority which you can exercise over them. So what did I say? Let me repeat. People would follow you because they have to, because your chair is a bigger chair. As soon as you get that in your mind as a conscious human or a growing leader, you should get impatient to go to the next level of leadership. And the next level is called, the permission level leadership, where the source of leadership comes through relationship management. What the leader does at this stage, he starts learning about the other colleagues in his team, in his environment, right? And he starts helping them based on their capabilities, guiding them, coaching them, supporting them. So he builds relationship to know them better, because when he knows them better, he can also help them better, because every human are unique. Some people have quality in certain things. Some people may have shortcoming in some other things. So what the leader does at this stage, he starts building relationship and help people to grow with their own capabilities. And that is when people follow you because they want to follow you. Because by following you, they get benefited, right? Whereas in the previous stage, they followed you because they had to follow you, not they wanted to follow you. But in this stage, they want to follow you because by following you, they get benefited. Once you have this level, you should again get impatient to see how you can go to the next level of leadership. And the next level is called the production level leadership, where the influence comes through the results. What is this results? When you achieve good results for the part of responsibility that you have in your organization, or the department that you manage, or the team that you manage, right? When you bring good results in that area where you operate, you become a subject matter expert. You are known by people that this person is an authority in this subject. For example, you work in IT and you have certain expertise in different aspects of IT. So when you demonstrate that, people know that you are a person who have proven capacity in that particular area. So they start following you because of the results that you bring in your organization. Quick example could be Saqib Al Hasan. Why do we consider him as a leader in cricket? Because of the results that he generated for his organization. And his organization is Bangladesh, right? So at this stage, people follow because of what you have done for the organization. So when you do extraordinary in your job, when you bring in a new project, when you become successful at a level that no one else has gone before, people start following you. They start considering you as an authority. Yeah? After that, you should again get impatient. How do I grow more charisma, more authority, more influence in exercising my leadership and helping others? The next level is called people development level. This today is considered as the most important level among the 5 levels in leadership. Why? Because a leader's worth is assessed by an organization by the number of leaders that he creates. So if he is creating more leaders, he is known as a good leader or a better leader. So at this stage, what the leader do is he identifies the development requirement for all his people, and all the best things the leader has, he tries to transfer that to others. He creates his own clones. He creates his own copies. So whatever the leader is good at, he tries to transfer that to others, help other people to grow. And people follow you at this stage because of what you have done for them. In the previous stage, they followed you because of what you have done for the organization. And at this stage, they follow you because of what you have done for them. So if I may just repeat these 4 steps, I started with a position, and people followed me because my position was, somewhat influential because of the authority level. Then I grew to the relationship level, which is the permission level of leadership. I built relationship with my team members, with my peers, helped them to grow. Thirdly, I came to production level where I generated great amount of result for the organization, and people started considering me as a subject matter expert or an authority in that area. So I do further influence in them. And after that, I grew to the most demanding area today of leadership, which is people development, where I tried to transfer everything best that I know to others. I tried to copy myself in many, right? I tried to create clone for myself and create more leaders in the organization. Now, the research which supports this work of Mr. John C. Maxwell also suggests that to grow up to level 4, you don't need any inherited capabilities. So those of you who still believe that leaders are born, I just want to have a quick question. Let me see if the audience can put some of the comments. How many of you in the audience think that leaders are born? If I could see some comments very quickly. If you could change the slide to the screen so that I can see some, we can also share some comments if some of the people who are commenting and saying that leaders are born. Okay, now I'm asking, okay, I can see other questions coming, but right now I have asked the questions. How many of you think who are joining that leaders are born, cannot be made? Any comments? Is there people making comments? Sadly, I still believe. Can I go back to the? Someone said sadly he still believes. So just said previously I believe so, but okay. Lastly, he appreciated it is not the case. Previously I believe so, but last few months no more. Okay, Sajjad, I hope something happened. Mr. Sajjad, something good happened. Leaders are not born. Okay. Oh, there's no name. It says Facebook user. Sandipan, sadly, I believe. Okay. Any other comments there? In fact, it could be picking some comments from ISCEA Bangladesh page as well. The leaders are never born; they are made. Okay, I'm okay. I'm okay with these comments that I've seen. Let me continue the discussion. So, I would suggest, based on my little learning that I have grown in this world, is leaders are actually both born and made. And why do I say so? Some leaders are actually born with unique capabilities, right? They're born with different types of a seed. And that's some, as I said, not many. But primarily, leaders are made. That's why we have so many leadership books leadership courses, leadership training, right? If leaders were only born, we would not need all these training and workshop. I hope, Rafayat, you would agree to this, right? So
yes, sir, of course.
In this research also, thank you. In this research also, it suggests that to grow up to level 4, which is people development or reproduction, is the source of leadership here. We don't need to be born with any inherent capability, right? We can grow all this quality as we grow in the organization. However, the 5th level, which is called the pinnacle level leadership, that is where people follow you, because it's a different source of leadership, the influence exercise that you exercise is called respect. People follow you because of who you are and what you represent. You talk about the father of the nation, you talk about a political leader who moves in a big time, right?
Yes.
People
Right.
follow them because of who they are and what they represent. In the business organizations also, we have certain people. For example, Sir Abed, Dr. Yunus, right? The type of thing that they have done, the type of influence that they have created, which has gone much beyond their organization, much beyond their country even. It has gone international, it has gone global. So these are the people who reach pinnacle, and research shows these people are probably born with certain uniqueness in them. That's why they're so rare in number, very limited in number. Talk about Nelson Mandela and all those, right? Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're very rare. Or the big religious leaders who have different type of a charisma to influence people, and people follow them because of who they are and what they represent. So the source of influence here is respect. So just to recap, we move from a rights-based influence to relationship-based influence to results-based influence to reproduction-based influence, and finally respect. I don't discourage anyone not to target for pinnacle, because unless you try, you do not know whether you have built-in capabilities or not. So this is how we grow leadership in an organization, Rafayat. I hope I have done justice. So let me just, to close this one, share one more slide, which I thought relevant, that for you to become a leader, you have to have people who are led, which means who are followers, right? You cannot be just a leader by yourself, you are the leader, you are the follower. So what we, just to conclude on this, we need to build relationship with relevant people whom I wish that they should follow my work, they should support my work, right? Or I should take the advantage of serving them. I should create some impact in their life. So we should start building relationship. Every interaction that we face, this is another line which, if you wish, dear audience, you can write it down. Take every interaction as an opportunity. Every time you are engaging yourself with somebody else, do a little bit more than expected. Give little bit more than expected, right? Create that connection. So create human connection. Because we do business with people we like. I hope all the audience will accept this, right? Whom do we do business with? Whom do we do any work with? People whom we like. And so for you to be liked by others, you need to create that connection with the other side. And how do we create connection? We try to understand the other side first, then make ourselves understood. Always, in terms of building relationship, try investing your time and energy in understanding where the other side is coming from. What is his expectation? What are his concerns? What are his needs? And then try to connect your offering with their need, interest, and concern, and build connection. And finally, live your values and show genuine care. So whenever you're interacting in building relationship, make sure the other side understand the values that you are living. Are you a person of integrity? Are you a person who feels respectful to all other person, right? Are you a giver? All those values will be known by others anyway when you interact with them, and show genuine care. That's how you will build relationship. So I'll close the initial discussion now. I hope this has been useful and answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, sir, of course. Clearly you are describing. Dear viewers, I am requesting, hello, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. আমাদের ইবা আইএসসিএ বাংলাদেশ অ্যালামনি অ্যাসোসিয়েশনে অ্যাডহক কমিটিতে আপনারা জানেন ইজাজুর রহমান স্যার আমাদের সাথে আছেন চিফ অ্যাডভাইজার হিসেবে, সাথে সাথে আমাদের সাকওয়াত স্যার অ্যাজ এ প্রেসিডেন্ট হিসাবে আমাদের সাথে দিক নির্দেশনা দিয়ে আসছেন। এবং পাশাপাশি আমাদের হাবিব স্যার, আমাদের মাসুদ ভাই, আমাদের জেনারেল সেক্রেটারি নাহিদ ভাই আমাদের সর্বাত্মকভাবে আমাদেরকে সাহায্য সহযোগিতা করে আসছেন। এবং এই লাইভ সেশন এবং ওয়েবিনার করাতে আমাদের সাথে সাথে সবসময় আমাদেরকে নাফিস, আমাদের জাবের ভাই, গাজী ভাই, আবেদ, বাইজিদ ভাই, আসলে অনেকে আমাদের এই বিহাইন্ড দ্য স্ক্রিন অনেকে আমরা এটা নিয়ে কাজ করেছি, যাদের অনেকেরই নাম বলা হয়তো বা এখানে বলতে পারছি না, জহির ভাই, শাহরিয়ার ভাই। তো তাদের অনুপ্রেরণা, তাদের সহযোগিতায় আজকে আমরা এই পর্যন্ত আসতে পেরেছি। সো তাদেরকে আমাদের এই সেশনের মাধ্যমে তাদেরকে আমরা আন্তরিকভাবে ধন্যবাদ জানাচ্ছি। স্যার, I am coming to the point to you. Sir, as a being CSCM, I understand what the modern supply chain stands for. However, there could be many in audience who may not fully appreciate what supply chain truly means and why it has become extremely critical for every business on focus on improving their supply chain management practice. Sir, would you please share your views about supply chain management today to our viewers?
All right. Okay, Rafael, thank you. So it's like starting from the beginning. Dear viewers, I practiced and I grew up in supply chain, served corporate for about 16 and a half years. Of course, large part of it was at a strategy level, at a senior management level, at a COO level, and so on. But I always thought, and I keep thinking that, I wish to grow more in supply chain. It's a vast area. And so the little bit of knowledge and skill that I've developed in supply chain over the last 20 odd years, I would describe it in this fashion, that every business that we know, we actually have two major tasks. One is a demand generation. And what is that demand generation and who does that? Demand generation is about campaigning about your product, getting excitement in the audience, right? Helping people to understand more about the features and the benefits of your products and exciting them to buy your product. And which function does that job? It's sales and marketing.
Yes.
Once the demand has been created in the market, when people have started placing their orders to your business, they started putting their demand in, the next job the business does is demand fulfillment. The entire process of fulfilling demand is supply chain management, which can be performed by one department, which can be performed by multiple departments as well. So the entire process of demand fulfillment, which means all the parties and all the activities that are done directly and indirectly to fulfill customer requests, are actually part of supply chain management process. There could be multiple departments who are doing that job. Even partially sales marketing as well engages themselves in demand fulfillment. Finance, HR, IT, operations, production, logistics, whatever you call it, demand planning, supply planning, merchandising, all these are supply chain management activities that are done directly or indirectly to fulfill customer requests. So supply chain management is necessarily planning and management of all activities that directly or indirectly contribute into customer order fulfillment. So in order fulfillment, all the planning and management of managing and maintaining all those relationships is planning and managing of all the relationship is supply chain management. So in a different way of looking at it is necessarily an integration of demand and supply in the organization, right? What the customers are demanding and how do we supply that, or what demand the business is taking in and how does it fulfill that demand, right? That's supply chain management. And of course, if you go for a little extension of this definition, it could be it's about utilizing the supply chain assets in the organization and managing the flows in the supply chain. There are three flows: information, product, and fund. So efficiently and responsibly managing those, the flows, and managing supply chain assets in a way so that the demand and supply integration are done at an optimum level. That's supply chain management. I hope that was useful. So everything that we do in short and sweet to fulfill customer request, the planning and management of that is supply chain management. And the reason I think you also asked why it has become critical In fact, everything else, like production, automation, technological advancement, these are all like given now, lean operation and all those. But
Yes.
the way the whole fulfillment part is becoming complex, like let me pick a quick example. I was hearing from a group owner, the business owner of a group of companies last week, and he was saying companies like Zara has shut down
Yes.
150 outlets worldwide. And what they intend doing is they will now do business both offline and online. So an organization which was known as one of the best examples in supply chain, in apparel supply chain, is also going online. So you'll buy your, apparel products online. So supply chain every single day is getting more complex. And it is not good enough just to have a strategy, sales marketing strategy in the business or a competitive strategy in the business, and not having a very capable fulfillment capability, which is supply chain. If you don't have that, the company will fail to keep its promises, and it will fail to generate, the revenue and the profitability, which is the core perspective that the business looks at. So that's why supply chain management has become an enabler to revenue generation, enabler to cost minimization, and also helping the bottom line to grow. That's why it is critical now, and the whole world is focusing on this. Thank you, Rafat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I think the description of the supply chain, it is very useful for us as well as those who are done a little bit confused about the supply chain, what is going on in our business organization. Hello, viewers, how is going on? Can you please put your comments? It is great. We want to see your involvement. Can you please? Okay, sir. Now this is another issue. Supply chain leaders frequently deal with the executive team. We have to do in a very frequently. That team's lacking knowledge, the lack of both knowledge and interest in supply chain management. And yet, supply chain community all too often struggles to communicate the value it provides. With such realities place, how does one grow supply chain leadership?
Okay. I think that's the main agenda for
Yes,
today's
sir.
discussions. I want everybody's attention. Thanks, Afayat, for leading me to that. Now, I think you can make the picture bigger. Whoever is working in the background, I can see very small pictures there. You can go bigger if you put it on projection. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sharing the screen now, so I can be on the focus on the camera, no problem. So what I was advising is that supply chain leaders, they continuously look for different opportunities. So to answer you, this will be the longest discussion for today. I will be answering from two angles, really. One is what we need to do at the organizational level, and the two is what we need to do at a personal level to grow supply chain leadership. Okay? So supply chain managers, supply chain leaders, they always work on different must-win battle projects. Yeah, this screen is fine. Thank you, dear moderators. They always work on different must-win battles, which means areas of improvement, critical projects, and so on. They regularly point out on initiatives like forecast improvement, master data standardization, ERP implementation, warehouse optimization, and so on. And these are crucial for the supply chain to perform. But at the same time, they are very difficult sell to the senior management. They don't understand these technicalities of supply chain management. Yeah, even though these are very critical things for the business. Moreover, supply chain initiatives are, competing for senior management's attention all the time. And they're somewhat communicated, but they're not very attractive to the senior management. To them, topics, or to the senior management, the topics like market entries, potential acquisition, new product launches, these are more catchy, more powerful to them, more attractive to them. So supply chain leaders frequently, they mention that the senior team has limited interest in understanding our agenda. So they don't, pay much attention. So I'm going to share some amazing research finding, mainly from McKinsey. You all know McKinsey, which will benefit you primarily 3 areas at an organization level. And then later on, I will go on some personal traits or personal leadership skills that we need to grow to become a better supply chain leader. So at this stage, let me share the screen a bit to take you through the 3 main agenda on how we take it to the board level. Yeah. Yes, here comes your screen. Getting the supply chain management to the board. Now, we were talking about influence a few minutes back. In the organization, you need to influence people, influence, processes, influence relationships, as we have seen a few minutes back, to actually exercise your leadership capabilities and grow as a successful supply chain leader. So the first thing that you could do, or we could do, is ensure that supply chain management delivers exceptional value. That's the first agenda, and it came out through extensive surveys, and the report has been summarized by McKinsey. So the first point here is become a valued and trusted business partner who understands the commercial requirements. Sometimes while working in supply chain, we get very technically biased. We get too complicated with the terms and jargons and all those projects, but we don't show much bias commercially. In other words, everything that you do, if you could somehow apply a commercial sense in everything that you do, and if you could apply with a commercial sense to your senior management, that becomes much more understandable to the senior team, and that will help you to make it a boardroom agenda. So ensure that through the commercial communication that you make to the senior team, you make them convinced that how well your supply chain initiatives are contributing to the commercial advancement or commercial aspects of the business. Secondly, align the supply chain strategy and capabilities with corporate requirements. The business will continuously change its strategies and tactics. They will innovate. They'll bring new products, new offerings to the market. What you need to do as a supply chain leader, you need to show that flexibility to quickly adapt your supply chain strategy to the and its capabilities with the corporate requirements. For example, the market dynamics have changed. The sales and marketing team wants to deliver products faster, or they reach to the market with a new product faster. But your supply chain is very lousy. It's very slow. It doesn't help you to achieve that. What should you do? You should immediately align your supply chain capabilities and, of course, your strategy, the bigger plan, the long-term plan, in a way so that it serves the corporate requirements. And that way, the top team or the senior team will actually see that the supply chain capabilities are aligned, and they will talk about it, how best to drive benefits through supply chain capabilities. And then contribute to revenue growth, since cost reduction are taken for granted. One of the very common perspectives that we have as supply chain managers, that we constantly focus on reducing costs, which is fine, there's nothing wrong. And sometimes we are so excessively focused on cost. I can give you the example of what happened during the pandemic. Everyone trying to reduce cost has moved towards China and made China the manufacturing basket for all their supply requirements. And while trying to drive lean in the operation and trying to drive down cost in every single purchase or sourcing, when you find cheaper sources and you put all your eggs in the same basket, you excessively risk business. And then, continuing with the revenue flow in the business, the organization struggles. And that's what precisely is happening across the world, including Bangladesh. That because the supplies are disrupted in China, your entire operation has come to a halt and your revenue generation is now very heavily challenged. So you need to contribute to revenue growth rather than only focusing on cost reduction, because cost reduction is given. Next one is getting involved in all relevant supply chain management decisions and ensure process discipline. Now, if you want to grow as a leader, you have to be vocal. If you want to grow as a leader, you need to make yourself visible. Every decision that are related to supply chain, you must make sure that in the environment you create your say in this, right? You must develop a way of communicating to the senior team so that they feel like including you when they're making a good decision or a big decision that will impact the supply chain performance. So you need to get involved. You need to volunteer yourself, even if you're not invited. In an uninvited situation, also you should go forward and say that when you do this, I'll be happy to be a part of this and I can contribute. When you do all this, it will help you to ensure that your supply chain management activities and actions and decisions delivers exceptional value to the business. So the function where you are in any part of supply chain, it needs to fully align supply chain capabilities with the overall needs of the business and become more involved in the strategic decision making. Now, let me go to the second agenda and bring back. In this, while trying to enhance what you call your values and make it more visible to the board, to make it a board level agenda, we'll now look at some interesting ways where supply chain management contributes in revenue growth opportunities. If we can get back to the screen, please, one more time. These are amazing things where supply chain can contribute. Now, before I begin, let me share with you that you'll keep doing the great job that you're doing in supply chain, but it's a matter of how you package them, how you present them to your senior management, to your board, so that they understand how relevant it is in generating, revenue growth in the business. Okay, so let's focus on what we need to do in terms of supply chain contribution. On the left-hand side, we have revenue opportunity. In the middle, we have some examples here. And on the right-hand side, we have supply chain management's contribution. So imagine if lead time reduction is a revenue opportunity to attract new customers by offering short lead time. What supply chain management can do, it can redefine the entire logistics process through which we take the products and services to the market and enable a later order cutoff time for next day delivery. So we enable an order cutoff time in a way so that our logistics process is designed in a way so that we help reduce the lead time and offer better lead times to our customers. That's how we help directly in generating revenue. When you offer a shorter lead time, we can attract new customers. Next one is enabling customization. Any supply chain manager will get little allergic when you are asked to offer something beyond your standard offering. So if you allow your customers to customize their products, surely they will do more business with you because they will find that the solution you're providing is a solution for them. It perfectly matches their requirement. So what can you do in supply chain to enable customization? We can create modular product design that gives the customer a wide variety of choices. Those of you who have studied CSCM, PGDSCM, and CSCA programs of ISCEA, you must have gone through this modularity thing, that within the same product we create different modules where the supplier can the customer can mix and match things and create different configuration. One of the best example is how Dell supplied computer, historically, that they allowed the customer to choose from a wide range of different components, and when they configured their own computer, Dell put the entire thing together and delivered one computer. So the customer felt extraordinarily great because he could choose whatever he thought was best for his requirement. Next one is accelerating product launches. Companies would continuously launch products. And without supply chain's capability in helping the company to launch products in a quicker manner, supply chain will not be adding much to the revenue growth. So the example of this is be the first in the market with a new technology. I was recently looking at, as Rafayat was mentioning about Mr. Ejazur Rahman, the supply chain director of Marico Bangladesh, and he shared in his story, probably in Facebook, that they launched a very interesting product which will help clean the vegetables. I think I saw it yesterday or today. So for a company, Marico is known to all of us. I need to mute the sound from the other side. I can hear a noise. I don't know whose speaker is on. Okay, thank you. So a company which is mostly known as, narikal tel or coconut oil for your hair is now making a chemical product or a liquid which will help us to clean the vegetables and then consume. Very interesting. Now imagine if the supply chain was lousy, if they were not, helping the business organization, sales marketing, new product development, and so on to have this in an accelerated manner, they will fail to take the products to the market timely and before their competition. So that's how supply chain can contribute in the revenue generation. Expand into new markets. And the example is enter and penetrate in new markets. So we need to find local suppliers and create local networks that enables competitive pricing in emerging markets. So if I'm going to Myanmar from Bangladesh with one of my organization or one of my business, if I can become expert in quickly identifying the supply sources in Myanmar, right, which will help me to enable my organization to do business quickly and remain competitive in the market, that's the type of supply chain capabilities which will help the organization to generate revenue and revenue growth. Next comes is the entering new channels. I just mentioned a few minutes back about Zara. They were selling offline. Now they are going both online and offline. So what we should do in supply chain to support this revenue growth opportunity is create efficient warehousing, picking, and logistics by selecting the right partners for e-fulfillment or e-commerce fulfillment, right? So when you do that, supply chain will become a great enabler in generating revenue growth in the business. Enable premium pricing. Example is charge a premium for unique products and services. Now, anyone in supply chain, in a conventional thinking manner, would like to have everything standard, one size fits all, right? Offer the same product to everyone, have less complicacy. But what if your company's scenario is such that if it could segment its customers and offer different segment, different types of, opportunities, high value customers will get one type of service, low value customers will get another type of service. That's where supply chain can ensure a constant flow of innovative products that customers are willing to pay a premium for. Now, innovation is not required by the supply chain managers. The innovation will be brought in by somebody, but fostering innovation, helping the innovation process to be fulfilled or exercised in the business, that's where supply chain leaders come, as a powerful source or as an influencer. Next is providing outstanding service, delivering the best service for the aftermarket. This is just an example. If supply chain can enable service technicians to provide value-added service based on real-time condition monitoring in the market, that will be another enabler for the organization to grow revenue, so by providing outstanding service. So the second area to get the supply chain agenda to the board is to quantify the value provided. This is where many of us fail in supply chain. We fail to quantify the beautiful works that we do, right? So let me read out the key 4 points that will help us to quantify the value provided. Use key performance metrics that are relevant to the board and don't bore with operational metrics. Talk the language that your board wants to hear. In most cases, the board will not be interested about stocking days, right? Inventory turn. Instead, if you could convert that in terms of money, how that is contributing in the top line or in the bottom line, that's when they'll be more interested. So have a way of contributing the value that you're adding to the business. By increasing inventory turn, have you been able to attract more customers? By reducing inventory investment, have you been able to contribute in the bottom line of the business? All those, talk that language that the board understands. Translate supply chain performance metrics into financial metrics, as I just mentioned. Instead of just saying, order fulfillment rate has gone up, can you say or translate by increasing order fulfillment rate, how it has contributed in missed sales or missing sales opportunities or lost sales, and how it has contributed to growing the revenue. Continuously track all benefits that supply chain functions provide. This is one area, my dear audience, those who are listening, the future supply chain leaders, I would excessively like to draw your attention. Every little thing that you do, when you know that it is adding value to the business, it is helping some part of the business organization to improve, keep tracking those benefits and highlighting those to the senior management. And finally, create your own annual report that summarizes the success and failures of your team. Here's one other caveat here, one other opportunity for you to focus on. You may not be always asked to highlight because supply chain has been a back office job most of the time. Only in the recent decades, it has started drawing the importance and the ownership understand that it is actually a true enabler of business benefits. So you need to create your own annual report, putting in all the benefits that you have generated, all the improvements that you have created in the business process, in enhancing supply chain performance, delivering better customer value, and so on. Prepare, of course, if you have shortfalls, if you have failures, you must also record them so that you can take actions going forward. Don't just focus on the success. And when you do that, that builds your credibility when you're actually covering both sides. So you must quantify the supply chain management, in a relevant, coherent manner so that the KPIs that you pick up, the supply chain matrices that you pick up are understandable by the audience, in the board. So this was the second one. If I may go to or in the second one, I'll actually share an example so that you can relate how you translate this into value. So let me take this slide again. Yeah, can you see the slide? Translating supply chain matrices into financial benefits. I just want to express my gratefulness again. This is from McKinsey report. Now, on the left-hand side, you're seeing we increased our service level from 96.1 to 97.4%. This is the way a supply chain manager would normally talk. But translating it into financial benefit, which the board will value more, and board will, automatically create a supply chain influence at the board level, is on the right-hand side, that we could reduce express shipments cost by $280,000, from the past year due to higher in-stock levels. Or 1.3% service level increase relates to $430,000 worth, bucks worth in extra revenue based on 50% lost sales rates. We have reduced lost sales. We have increased the service level, which helped us to generate 430,000 extra bucks, dollars or euros, in the business. Next example is we reduced the average internal lead time from 44.5 to 36.0 days. So we have reduced the average internal lead time quite significantly from 44.5 to 36 days. Instead, we could put it on a financial benefit and offer. We cut work in progress inventory by 150,000 euro due to shorter production lead time. We could capture 4 additional orders worth €700,000 where the customer requires a short lead time. So this is the way we can convert our non-financial supply chain metrics into financial benefits and help the audience to understand. Okay, so let's now learn the third one with regard to taking this agenda to the board. Sorry, it got disconnected again. Okay, excel at communicating the value that supply chain management delivers. Communication here. So how do I excel in communicating the value that the supply chain management delivers? Apply the right level of detail and focus on meaningful elements. Your leadership team or your top team may not be looking for all the details that you want to, furnish in your meeting or as reports to the board. You should rather apply the right level of details, as much detail as they want. If you're not sure, ask your board what type of detail they want. Speak a simple language and don't assume prior knowledge of SCM jargon or definitions. Sometimes when you make a presentation from the supply chain side, we sound too technical, too many jargons, and the audience don't understand. Now you're actually failing in your communication. So if you want this become, a language that is understood by the board, and getting it as a board agenda, you must speak a language that the board understands. Speak the numbers, speak the terms, avoid jargons to make sure that it is communicated well in terms of supply chain value. Carefully explain trade-offs and customize the message to the audience. Trade-offs are doing one thing and leaving one more thing, right? So when you're taking a supply chain decision, when you're bringing some benefit, Let them know what have you done by, avoiding what else, what have you improved upon what else you had. Identify supply chain management ambassadors and appoint a listening team that helps with positioning. This is another thing that you should do in communicating the values of SCM drivers. Identify people, even in other departments, who actually appreciate what supply chain management does, right? And let them become your spokesperson. Let them become great listeners. They become your listening team, and then they position supply chain management to the board in a bigger way. So I hope this tree has been useful with regard to what you do to take this agenda to the board. If there is any question, I can take it now or afterwards. As I was mentioning, Rafat, I have two sections on this. One, I have mentioned how do we take the supply chain agenda to the top team. And the other one, I said the key supply chain leadership skills that one has to develop. So I will take that one after I see if there are any questions that I need to answer at this stage. So if there are questions, dear moderator, you can put it up and we can see if we could answer a few questions. Then I'll talk about the 7 things. Yeah. Is there any leader in our country who conducted leadership survey to understand his or her leadership competencies? Please withdraw my previous question. Any leader in the country who conducted? No survey that we know that has been conducted here. Thanks for the question, Mr. Salahuddin. Yeah. Any other question? This is a good one. Is there any particular leadership skill needed right now more than ever, considering this pandemic situation? So please allow me to take you through the next 7 points that I have in supply chain leadership skills, and I'll highlight there which one is actually more critical now. So please bear with us. Whoever has asked this question as a Facebook user.
Yes.
Who's next? Any other question at this stage? Moderators, if there's no more relevant question, we can probably go to the next section about the 7 leadership skills. Is there any more question, Rafat, that I should take now?
No, sir, right now.
Okay, so we'll
dear
move
viewers,
to the...
I'm requesting you put your question. Move to the next slide, sir.
Thank you very much.
Please, dear viewers, please put your questions. After the discussion, we can go for the QA session. Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, please.
Yeah, so we'll now talk about a few thoroughly researched, this is from Logistics Bureau and other organizations who supported them with regard to the key supply chain leader skills. So knowing what is most vital, supply chain leader skills are, and of course, why you need them. So if we could have the screen now, please. We're sharing the key supply chain leader skills. Thank you very much. So let's learn the 7 critical skills that the world thinks is critical today for all supply chain leaders. The first one is information technology and automation knowledge. A lot of things are happening now in supply chain automation, process automation. And in today's age, anything that is repetitive in nature, anything that is rule-based will be ultimately automated in the process. Human will not do that. Human would rather focus on doing things that are more manual in nature, or is related to thinking that's not rule-based, that's not repetitive in nature. So try and understand the developments in IT, information technology, that are relevant to supply chain process enhancement, process improvement. I can only few and new from here. The ERPs, the warehouse management system, transportation management system, supply chain analytics related softwares, right? These are all becoming very staple source of leadership decision support. So if you want to become a leader now, and if you're not taking this leadership IT automation support, or if you don't have that automation knowledge, then you'll actually fail to make advanced supply chain decisions, because automation is there to support you to make a better informed decision. Next one is a grasp of economics and market dynamics. As we all know, the market shifts are happening pretty fast. The dynamics are changing. So it's also changing the customer and consumer buying behavior, right? In the pandemic over the last 3+ months, even in Bangladesh, we have seen how people have learned how to stay at home, not to go out even for grocery shopping, have them delivered at home. So the entire buying behavior is changing. So as a good supply chain leader, you got to always understand what's happening in the economic environment and how the market dynamics are changing. You should also focus on what lies ahead. Now we are having a pandemic situation. As you reopen in the new normal, how the world is going to change, how the market dynamics will change. Because it's a good thing that one of you asked a few minutes back, what's the biggest or the most pertinent or most important, most sought leadership quality for supply chain leaders today? This could be one of them. Because in the past, things were more settled. In the past, things were more predictable. Now it has become a lot more less predictable, a lot more dynamic, a lot more uncertainty in the supply chain. Therefore, the more you know about the economics in the market and the market dynamics, what is changing, what lies ahead, you'll be actually making a better decision. You'll be making more influence in the supply chain as a supply chain leader. Third one is understanding the cost to serve. We often talk about total cost of ownership in supply chain, and that is like a given now. You got to understand the total cost that you have in supply chain to serve for a product or service. What we are also proposing based on the research is understanding cost to serve should become your next capability to go to the next level of supply chain leadership. And you got to be able to quantify how your supply chain decisions are affecting the bottom line of your business. In attention to this, it's often a one-size-fits-all approach to service, where inevitably, which leads to over-servicing of customers and under-servicing of some others. What that means, when you too much standardize, when you don't pay attention to segmenting your customers or paying attention to which customer deserves what type of a service and so on, and if you don't look at the total cost to serve per customer segment or per customer type, then you will be surprised to know that in many occasions you will end up in a situation that serving some customers is a loss to your company. So you should be smart in supply chain to understand and evaluate the total cost to serve, present that information to your organization, and make calculated decision. Your colleagues in sales marketing, your colleagues in finance, your CEO and COOs, everyone will be happy when you grow that type of what you call knowledge base and influence in the business, that you can trigger decisions based on your understanding on cost to serve different products. The skill of flexibility, from the audience, whoever asks about the most critical supply chain leadership quality, this is the other one. You got to develop a flexibility now. Everyone wants to live in comfort zone. But very unfortunately, the type of complexity that supply chain is growing every day, which has now been expedited because of the current pandemic situation, you've got to grow the skill of becoming more flexible. So you have to support and drive innovation, as I was mentioning a few minutes back. You may not necessarily be an innovator as a supply chain professional or a leader, but you got to have proper support in driving innovation. So flexibility is a skill that will help you to do that. Flexibility will give you the ability to let others do innovative thinking, and your flexibility will give those creative thinkers the confidence that when you are in the position of supply chain, it will help them to present their ideas, since they know that you will adopt them if it makes sense to do so. So become flexible in your mind. New product development, process development, doing things differently, cutting down lead time, improving forecasting capacity, migrating to an ERP, all these, migrating to a new warehouse management software, all those will require mental flexibility as a supply chain leader. And if you go just one step beyond your individual capability, even as a team of supply chain that you have, it is now being told by all the supply chain leaders that any organization who has more supply chain flexibility in the future will actually thrive. If you are in unadaptable supply chain, if you're not agile, then you'll have less opportunity to grow in the time ahead. Next one is project management skill. If you are in the growth curve, if you're growing to a senior level already, you must have gone through different project management opportunities in your career so far. So you need to grow a good project management capability, and particularly we'll talk about three things here. One is the ability to negotiate successfully for resources, budgets, and schedules. So you need to become a good negotiator so that you can negotiate the resources for the projects, budget for the projects, and the schedules. You need to have a high degree of personal organization. You need to be a very organized person who can pay attention to multiple things happening at the same time, looking at the milestones, organizing, organizing things for yourself and for others, and also a proactive approach to risk management. You got to identify in advance what are the risks that are coming your way, and you need to be uh, uh, predictive enough in your capabilities in knowing in advance what risks are coming in your way. Therefore, how would you mitigate or how would you handle those risks? So that's the fifth supply chain leader skill that you need to develop. Sixth one is the ability to get the best from people. This goes without saying. No matter how much automation you have, no matter how much technology you have, if you're not managing your influence in a way that you get the best from your people, you are not going to be a great supply chain leader. If you become technologically super sound, but if you're unable to bring out the best from your people, you will not be considered a good supply chain leader. So your willingness to learn what you need to learn and the energy to commit to your personal development is the starting point. Here is a very humble suggestion to everyone who are listening. I know that many of the first online batch CSCM participants are also listening today, who are, eventually will become certified supply chain managers by ISCEA. Here is my small and humble suggestion, everyone. The reason we don't grow much in our lives is because we don't invest on self-development. We leave university with an education, which was a very theoretical education in most cases, which doesn't help us much to relate to the practicalities of business organizations' requirements. And after joining in the organization, we work 10, 15 years. Some organizations have a very lucky environment where they spend on learning and development, so we learn new things. Some others will not have that. So if you're unfortunate, you will be in an environment where there's not much learning and development opportunities. So if you keep waiting for the organization to become aware someday and then start investing on your development, it could be very late. So I would strongly suggest to appreciate that your biggest competitors in the job market is not others. Your biggest competitors in life are not others. The biggest competitor is yourself. You need to become a better you on a daily basis. Grow the habit of reading books. Grow the habit of reading articles. There are hundreds and thousands and millions of articles on advancement of supply chain today. Please spend time, do some courses, become a certified supply chain manager or an analyst or a PGD, whatever is suitable for you. That's your first level. I can guarantee you one thing. After leaving university after a couple of years, when you get into another education which is practical, which helps you to do better in your job, it will actually create your hunger to study further, right? So grow that habit, join good courses. That's your starting point to become a better supply chain leader. Understand what's happening, what are the advancements happening in supply chain across the world. Don't just sit there. Others are learning, they will get ahead and you will be staying behind. So develop the capability to get best from the people. And you need to be passionate about working in a team and enjoying interaction with others. I have a warning for you here. If you are not a team mentality person, if you're not a team player, and if you don't enjoy interacting with others, then probably supply chain is not your career. You cannot succeed as a supply chain leader. Yeah, you need to believe in team performance and enjoy interacting with others. On this, in terms of building your ability to get the best from people, I will highlight, we have almost reached the end of it, 3 C's in supply chain leadership. First one is communication. As managers and leaders, we spend between 60 to 70% of our time every day in any organization, any type of business, in doing just one thing, and that is communication. Fortunately, with my leadership training, I have two other trainings which are the best sellers in the country. One is called Communication Secrets, one is Effective Negotiation Skills. And sorry, not effective negotiation skills and communication secrets, right? So in the communication secrets program, I receive people from varying levels and varying age. When I tell them how much of what is the biggest job that you do every day, they all say in one word, communicating. And then when I ask them that you have spent 15 years, 20 years in the job, when was the last time you joined how to develop yourself as a professional communicator? Hardly any hands are raised. This is shocking. This is really, really shocking. What happens is this. You may have the world's best idea in your head, but if you don't know how to communicate it to the right audience, you are never a leader. Imagine I can be the most knowledgeable person, but I don't have the charisma to take my message to my audience, to my followers in a way to excite them, to inspire them. Will I ever become a big leader or a successful leader? No. So in supply chain, you need to become a multi-level communicator, which means you got to know to communicate to, in Dhaka, probably Nawabganj, in Chittagong, probably Khatunganj, yeah, business people, who are, not very polished in their communication. You need to know how to communicate with them. You also need to communicate with suppliers in China, maybe with broken English or a different English that they understand. You need to communicate with European suppliers and American suppliers, You need to become a multi-level supplier. You need to communicate to the very junior level people in suppliers and your internal customers in the organization. You need to also know how to communicate with the top leadership or MDs in different companies or in your company. Next C is about collaboration. You will need to be able to foster collaboration. And without that, modern supply chain is nothing. When you join a CSCM program, when you learn supply chain, or those of you who are currently in supply chain education with us in various of ISCEA programs, PGD, CSCM, and CSCA, you will realize that there has to be, no matter in which program you go through, a lot of education, a lot of learning on collaboration. Supply chain management, the term itself suggests, it's a chain of relationship management. It's not just managing one compartment of the chain. It's managing all the compartments in the chain. So if you don't have a collaborative mentality, you will never, ever grow as a good supply chain leader. So you need to know how to collaborate with others, even though you will face a situation where departments, peoples, levels in the organization have, competing priorities and expectation. So that's the challenge that you have. You'll be dealing with people and departments and levels who will have competing priorities and expectations, and that's where you need to collaborate and ensure that you meaningfully present your proposition in a way that those conflicting or competing departments and people also see benefit in doing things in a collaborative manner through your effective communication, through your persuasion, through your relationship and leadership skills. Third C in supply chain leadership in terms of building the capability to get the best out of people is change or change management. Change management always brings resistance. You will feel resisted sometimes, and many times you will see that your team members are showing resistance. So you got to understand how to take this journey forward, how to maneuver through this change environment, which will continuously happen, right? It is not something that is avoidable. So you need to grow that mental flexibility, and you need to grow the expertise in change management. Sometimes your education in the university or even your supply chain course, there may not be enough focus on change management. So I strongly suggest that sometimes you can go for some change management course also to make yourself trained and ready to become an influencer or a leader in leading change in supply chain management. Last one on building the ability to get best from people is to get the best from yourself. While the need to interact effectively with people is obvious, you should not neglect the fact that you need to develop yourself on a daily basis, right? Every single day, you've got to develop yourself. And last one, the seventh one is know how to negotiate. You got to become an extreme, good quality negotiator, a world-class negotiator. Because everything you need to influence will be generally in the hands of somebody else. So you got to negotiate. You got to become a world-class negotiator, right? And so know how to negotiate. You need to learn. You need to participate in negotiation courses, read books and articles, and become an extraordinary negotiator. So that brings an end to the two things that I discussed, Rafayat, for the audience. One is at an organizational level, what do we need to do to take the supply chain agenda to the boardroom, to the board level, and influence the senior people in the organization. Second one is the 7 key leadership skills that we need to develop. So over to you, Rafayat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, the way you are describing, this is basically, sir, beyond our expectation. This is basically a different level discussion. That is, sir, when I was in the CSCM courses, and after that, I also very much lucky to join your 3 signature program. So now today, I am able to connect the CSCM program and those 3 signature program again. This is very much, I am very much
you joined
lucky.
all 3. Leadership excellence,
Yes, sir.
effective negotiation skill, and communication secrets. Okay. Those are actually coming up in online version.
Yes, sir.
Soon,
apart from this, sir,
them in online. Yeah.
Yes, apart from this, sir, you already discussed how in this pandemic situation, our supply chain leaders are behaving, they are acting. So another example, I'm coming here with your mind mapper, like the CSCM courses, the online and PGD CSCM.
There was a, Rafai, if we just, before moving, I think there was an interesting question from Mr. Bhaskar Ranjan Shah. Dada, assalamu alaikum. Good to see you questioning here. We know each other for over 25 years. How do you rate RMG industry, people, supply chain performance in Bangladesh? Can you consider that the function of merchandising in RMG industry is a supply chain function? Okay, please keep this question on the screen. I think this will be relevant to many of the audience today, because even some of the RMG colleagues that I know that they're also participating here. First one is, how do you rate RMG industry, people, supply chain performance in Bangladesh? So I'm not sure, Dada, if the question is about the people or the supply chain performance, but let me answer both. I have a dream. The response is to Mr. Bhaskar Ranjan Shah and to the entire audience. I have a dream. I'm not sure how successful I'll be in supply chain. I have 2 dreams really. One is promoting the concept of supply chain ministry, a ministry of supply chain in the country. I have started talking about it in public. I'll be very happy if that thing shapes up, and from Supply Chain Management Society, from IBAA, from ISCEA, we all can contribute, in creating that. Second dream I have is specific to RMG industry. You see, this is the largest industry in the country, largest, export revenue generator in the country, RMG industry. And this industry is about 40 years experienced. With all the experiences that I have developed working with limited number of RMG companies, in consulting and, process improvement, I have seen supply chain is one thing that has been very badly neglected. Very, very bad. And the reason is, Dada, if I have understood it right, I understand that you also worked in RMG industry, so you might have seen the culture better, is RMG industry has been merchandising dominated so far, right? That's how the industry has grown. The merchandisers used to do pretty much everything, sourcing order from buyers and also getting it sourced from the factories, connecting with suppliers, making recommendations, provide a list of what you call nominated suppliers, buying from those suppliers, and so many things that the merchandisers have done. So the second part of your question with regard to whether merchandising is a part of supply chain, I'm answering that. But before that, let me talk about the second dream I have, is in all those garment factories having at least one certified supply chain manager. So please pray for me, everyone who are listening. That's my dream. I can almost see what is the revolution that will happen in the RMG sector if each of the factory has at least one qualified, supply chain personality, or could be someone like a CSCM or a PGDSCM in that factory, right, who has gone through some level of supply chain education, and not from university, from industry leaders who run supply chain. So as you know, Rafayat, when we do the different ISCEA programs in Bangladesh, all the classes are conducted by industry practitioners, industry leaders. Many of the supply chain directors and COOs and CEOs conduct the classes. So these are all very practical. So in RMG, I would think, Bhaskar, we are way behind. And while that is true, which is also true, is in the post-pandemic time, the world that we are going to face, if the RMG owners do not focus on supply chain capability enhancement, it will be disastrous. Because it is supply chain capability that will ensure that in such disruptions in the future, we are least affected. Because this pandemic or the waves of such disruptions in the world will continue. This the COVID is not the last thing, or the coronavirus is not the last thing that we are facing, rather first thing. Yes, we have not seen it in 100 years, but I can tell you with almost guarantee that's the prediction the whole world is making. We don't have to wait for another 100 years for another wave. It will happen in a couple of years' time. So if we don't have a robust, well-thought, well-planned, well-mapped supply chain management, the whole industry will suffer like anything. Talking about whether the merchandising, the function of merchandising in RMG industry is a supply chain function or not, it is pretty much a supply chain function. There's two parts. One group of the supply chain, the merchandising team, who are engaged. I mean, this segregation has already happened in large buying houses. I know many of them with whom I work. A group that is responsible to source orders from the buyers and negotiate with the buyers, communicate with the buyers. That part can still remain as a sourcing merchandising. But the part that deals with the fulfillment, as I said right at the beginning, demand generation and demand fulfillment. Demand generation is a commercial activity, sales marketing activity. Let it remain that way. They are experts in negotiating, good deals, good terms with the buyers. But they're never trained. These merchandisers have learned through hands-on experience. We do respect that has definitely made them very powerful and resourceful, but they never methodically train themselves in procurement, in sourcing, in supplier relationship management, in supply chain technology, in automating the process, which are repetitive in nature, which are rule-based, right? That supply chain mentality is not there. So that's a golden opportunity that every business organization has in segregating these two responsibilities. One group focusing on maintaining buyer relationship, another group focusing on the fulfillment. So that group which will focus on fulfillment is clearly on supply chain management on the fulfillment side. Dada, thank you very, very much for asking this. In fact, your question, and if I have answered it properly, will actually benefit many audience. Thank you so much once again. Partho Sharoti Rai. Hello, Bhaiya. Hello, Partho. Good to hear from you. How are you? I'm good, Alhamdulillah. My question to you is, how much finance knowledge a supply chain manager should possess? Also, I think there should be matrices designed for supply chain that translates the impact of the supply chain contribution to the P&L. Can you suggest some? Partho, I'm not sure if you have seen the early part of the discussion today. In fact, I spent quite a bit of time in talking about this, that we need to become experts, one, in growing a commercial sense. So every decision we make, every project we undertake in supply chain, we must have a commercial bias. Also, we must know how to translate it in a commercial term, in numeric term, right? For the CFO to understand what contribution we make, for the chief strategy officer to understand what contribution we make, for the CEO to understand, for the head of sales and marketing to understand what contribution we make in generating top line, which is revenue, and also affecting the bottom line, which is profit. So, and I have actually shared many. So if you have time, I would suggest you to go back to the video later on. I have actually given some examples with regard to how we convert the non-financial supply chain matrices to financial supply chain matrix. A brilliant question, Partho. I hope you're also keeping great with the family. Thank you. Any other? Walid Haider, hope you are fine. Thank you very much. Yes, I am fine. Alhamdulillah. In most organizational structure, supply chain and manufacturing operates as different functional departments. What's your opinion on why they not follow the concept of merge the both and operate as operation management, eventually led by supply chain head? Walid, good question again, brilliant question. In fact, as I mentioned before, it is not necessary to have all the departments under the same identity, but the process should be so designed that even if you have multiple departments, even in courts right now, we have a supply chain director, we have a manufacturing director. But the working relationship is such, it is supply chain that provides the planning and manufacturing executes the plan. Even in RMG, that's what I keep proposing. Let the planning be separated from production, right? That should come to supply chain. Supply chain should understand what the customer requirements are primarily. Then they should understand what is the best way of utilizing the factory capacity, and then they should plan. And they should plan in a way which absolutely matches the financial priorities of the business, manufacturing utilization of the business, and customer priorities of the business. So only when a supply chain person does the planning independently, he would ensure that all these priorities are handled. So Walid, I would suggest that just rethink. Brilliant question though. Yes, even if we have multiple departments, we need to bring in some sort of an integration where supply chain management culture prevails. Because I always promote supply chain not as a departmental activity, as a new culture, as a new way of running business. So thank you very much for the question. Thank you. Maybe we can take one or two more questions. I've been reminded that it's quite a long session. I hope it has benefited. Rafat, do you have anything else in the last as a question from your side?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. From my side, what I'm just try to highlight here. In the pandemic situation, from Mindmapper, we saw that certainly the courses is going to the online version, sir. This is really a dynamic decision in terms of organization, in terms of supply chain.
So indeed, I think the whole participants are also benefiting. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Can you please give us some words, sir, regarding this point? How you are shifting the whole thing to the online session? This is
okay. Probably this is again a leadership talk at the end. I have joined probably 100 such discussion sessions so far online, in different platforms and also from my platform. And everywhere I say this, that in this pandemic time, your choice is between two. One, you get into a survivor's mood. Yeah, you look at all the problems that you have, find ways and means of saving your back from this, become conservative, spend less, become worried about how to survive, what are the challenges. You read the death news 10 times in a day, look at the TV news, focus on all the odds around you. That's one way of surviving now. It's a survivor's mode. But what I have been promoting is reinventor's mode. Because the world that we are going to face is not going to be the same world that we had before the pandemic. You and I are going to get into a new ship. So I advise or suggest rather everyone who are listening that get into a reinventor's mode. Reinvent everything. Reinvent yourself. Because necessity is the mother of invention, right? So what we did when you saw that the pandemic has brought a standstill position, we started looking at opportunities, how we can serve our customers better. People are anyway sitting at home. They're spending a lot more time than ever before sitting at home. So what is the point of waiting for the normalcy, which may not even come back in 3 years? That's what we know now, right? Why not we find a solution? Because remember, be it a supply chain product or something else, so long you focus on adding value to people's life, you will always have customers, you'll always have pouring demands. And see how that has worked for us. I'm not shy at all to share this success news with the entire audience. In Bangladesh, CSCM batch sizes were 20, 25 max. Average, yeah? Sometimes we had even smaller batches of 15 and so on. Now we are having a batch size of 44. And why did that happen?
Amazing. That is really amazing, sir.
It's amazing. 44. And we have participants from Netherlands, from Saudi Arabia, from Sweden, from Sri Lanka, and from Bangladesh now. Of course, excepting Sri Lanka, which comes under my patch, my purview, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Netherlands, which are not in my patch, but we could only take them because they are Bangladeshis, right? They're working there. So,
Okay.
and in the past, when even you did CSCM, or even when I did CSCM, it was Dhaka-based or Chittagong-based, which we had to have a physical arrangement
Yes.
in Dhaka and in Chittagong. So people who
Yes.
are spread all over Bangladesh were unable to participate. People who are in other parts of the world, they were unable to participate. Now, they have three benefits rather. Let me give it to people who are not aware what the online CSCM has brought to them. The first one that people very happily consider, they are happy, so let me bring that to the top, even though that's not the happiest news for me, is the price they are paying for CSCM during this pandemic is lower than the price I paid back in 2008 when I did CSCM program.
Right.
So after 12
12
years,
years
they're
back.
paying a price, which is lower than the price that prevailed in the market 12 years back. I did my CSCM in 2008, and someone doing it in 2020 is paying less than that. Number one. Two, this is spread over 6 weeks, whereas you did it in 4 weeks. It was very tight.
4 weeks.
And that was 4 weeks, and it was very beneficial to do it in 4 weeks as well. So now that they're working from home, right? When they're doing it in online, they have less amount of time wasted in going to the group study venue, coming back home. So they actually had 2 traveling every evening from office to group study, from group study to home. By the time they would reach home, it would be 11:30 for many of them. Some actually came from outside Dhaka. The traveling time is now saved. Even if people are doing office, they're back at home. They're not in restaurants now, right? Because of the pandemic, they're all back home. So they're doing it at a convenience of sitting at home and doing the program. And as I said, the program has spread over 6 weeks, not 4 weeks. So it's not everyday class now. There are like 3 classes or 4 classes in a week. Number 3 is the classes are 2.5 hours, not 3 hours. Because in a 3 hours class, you wait for all the students to arrive, the teacher to arrive, right? You have a tea break in between, some gossip, some catching up, right? That takes away at least half an hour. So we agreed with all the audience. In fact, we agreed with the participants of this batch that we'll do a 2.5 hours class. And because we have 6 weeks spread as well, and in the middle, we'll just have a 15-minute stretching break. And trust me, all the classes are starting on time. 7:15 means 7:15, maybe 5 minutes here and there. All the participants are participating, amazing. And then comes a last additional benefit, which is today's class remains as a recorded class for the next 2 days in Google Classroom. So if anyone has missed the class, they can go back there, review it as many times as they want. But whereas for offline class, this was never the benefit. Yeah?
That is really helpful, sir.
It is. So even if someone has missed, like we had some of the people who were suffering from fever and so on, but they could subsequently go through those video and catch up. So what else can happen for CSCM? This is the best time for everyone to go crazy about joining CSCM. We're actually looking at a big batch again, which is starting on 9th of August. So those of you who will be interested, immediately join or write a message on ISCEA Bangladesh page. You'll be contacted immediately. Thank you for asking and giving me the opportunity, Rafat, to talk about CSCM. By the way, even PGD for the last 3 months is also happening through online. And you'll be very happy to know the largest global case competition on supply chain, which also takes place in Bangladesh, is also happening online this time. And alhamdulillah, like CSCM, PTAC Prize Global Case Competition has attracted highest number of teams in 8 years' time online. Highest.
Yes, sir.
It's about 1,475 students and young executives from all over the country who are participating in PTAC case competition this time. So when they get scholarship and enroll for CSCA program, that will be also run online, inshallah. So thank you.
That is really amazing, sir. That is really amazing information for us. Dear viewers, you already got the information what is the leadership and what is the supply chain leadership. I think by Ejazur Rahman sir, he has given the true example of how the supply chain leaders going forward, and what we have to do for that to lead the business, to lead the organization. So, dear viewers and the ISCEA alumnus, I am requesting you to join our Facebook page, and we are already formation IBAA the organization. Here we are helping each other. Why we are doing the this association? To helping to each other, to growing ourselves in a different level in a supply chain, to leading the organization. So join with us and grow each other. So
Yeah, in fact,
sir,
I would like to add with this, Rafayat, with you, because I am also the Chief Advisor to IBAA, ISCEA Bangladesh Alumni Association, that the seniors who did CSCM before, or the seniors by position in organizations, IBAA or ISCEA Bangladesh Alumni Association is the largest alumni for any other forum that you have on supply chain in the country. We have about 3,500 alumni. So please join and benefit from being together with the like-minded people, and most importantly, the leaders in the field. All the supply chain heads that are CSCM are also in the supply chain alumni. ISCEA Bangladesh Alumni Association. So please join. You'll be benefited for your career and your personal growth. Sorry, Rafat, you are telling me something.
no, sir. Lastly, in the pandemic situation, this is the basically a new normal life for us. What should the supply chain leaders what to do for the navigate this situation, and how they should face the new normal?
All right, thank you very much. I know that in the audience there will be people who are supply chain heads. There will be also people who are not supply chain heads, maybe a much smaller position holder. So what has to happen as a function or as a discipline in supply chain in the organization is the first job that everyone should do. They should actually start doing it from now. Don't wait for the new normal time. We're already in the new normal, I think. We're already doing office in this situation. You need to map the entire supply chain of your organization, how your organization's supply chain works, what plan, source, make, deliver, and managing return, all those processes. You should also map your supply network. You should understand who is positioned where, which supplier is in which position. Please understand that the peaks and drops with this pandemic will continue to shift, right? Some countries had peak in the past, some countries are having peak now. So you might as well want to develop a supply chain strategy where you can take the advantage of this peak shifting from one location to another. You might have a business model where you source from a country now which does not have a peak, which has a normal time. And then if that country gets into peak, you can shift your supply source to some other. So have those, new arrangement in your supply base. And then once you have mapped your supply chain network, you need to start focusing on your internal process, make it more agile, make it more adaptable. And there's two very critical things that I would like you to focus on in the new normal area. One, focus on supply chain automation. But of course, before you go for automation, I keep saying this everywhere I talk, make sure your process is first optimized. You look at how can you optimize your process, then bring automation as an enabler, to make better decision. Number two is, please note, as this is a leadership session on supply chain, that every human in this world have gone through an unprecedented change. It has changed their mentality. It has somewhat changed their habits, somewhat changed their buying behavior, somewhat changed their behavior with their family. So when they go back to office again, after like 3 months, they sit in the new office, their mental conditioning would have changed to a great extent. So please don't try to lead them the way you led them in the past. Try to understand their present position, present mentality, present lookout in everything that they do, present perspective that they hold about life and the world, and then try to lead them from where they are, not from where you are. Try to find out your followers in where they are, not where you want them to be, right? They could be in a different location, because the success of leadership only comes when you lead people from where they are, right? Try to identify where they are, what is their expectation, what are their mentalities like. So I hope that will be useful as we reopen. So please relook at your leadership model, relook at your supply chain, relook at your team configuration, relook at the automation, map the entire supply chain, map the entire supply chain network, and then decide how you can make your supply chain more agile and more adaptable. And again, because all your other supply chain stakeholders have also suffered, your suppliers and customers and everyone, there's a great requirement for alignment as well. So those of you who are interested, read this article, by this famous Chinese, professor from who published in Harvard, I think back in 2004, the 3 A's in supply chain: agility, adaptability, and alignment. This might also help you in this particular post-pandemic situation. Thank you, Rafael. That was a brilliant question. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we are in the last stage of this session. If anyone have the question, just put in the comment side.
Thanks, Hiba, for arranging this fantastic session. Yemen needs what your feedback regarding blockchain in adding value to supply chain? Well, blockchain is pretty new in Bangladesh, but we are still into those, the ERPs that you have heard about in the recent past, last decade rather. SAPs, last decade or about 2 decades, SAPs and Oracles and this and that. But blockchain will actually make the supply chain processes a lot more robust and functional going forward. So I think in the future, in fact, in one of the organizations that is a strategic partner with us, with all the supply chain initiatives in the country, IPDC, in Bangladesh is the first organization to introduce blockchain in financial institutions, and they're doing a wonderful job. So I think going forward, it will be incorporated in other parts of the supply chain. It's a nice session. Thank you very much for the feedback, Mr. Mothur. Yeah, I think, thanks, it's a lovely session. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Mr. Hanif Rana, I think, it's all, but I'm particularly thankful to IBAA, to yourself, Rafayat, and those who are working behind. Yes. And most importantly, all the audience who joined. My sincere best wishes to each one to have a healthy life for themselves and for their family. And last but not least, I just want to remind everyone that supply chain management is the future. So do not wait to develop yourself further. Whatever, be it ISCEA or any other organization, grow your supply chain capability. The world needs you more than ever before. Yeah. Thank you, Rafat.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for your valuable time and valuable discussion. Obviously, to conduct this session, behind the screen, lot of persons, they are working with us, like Gaji Bhai, like Jaber Bhai. Apart from this, Rubel Bhai, Shahadat Bhai, lot of, there are other persons also. From IBAA and this session, I am thanking them all. So, sir, we are in the last stage. So, thank you, everyone. We are finishing our session. Stay at home and stay safe. Okay, good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum and good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.